So while we're waiting for more people to get connected and for you to let us know where you're connected from, we'll just speak a bit about what the Qubators Knowledge Sharing Sessions are. So, welcome to the family. First of all, if this is your first time joining, we are a global community of tech builders, creators, and innovators. And every week, we bring you sessions like this to help you grow practical and real world skills, actual things that you can apply to your life and build with. So we'll just wait for a couple more people to get connected and then we'll get started. While we wait, like I said earlier, just drop in the comments where you're connected from. And maybe if this is your first time joining one of our live streams for the knowledge sharing session, then just let us know as well. Knowledge sharing session. My name is Afuni and I will be your host for today's session. So today we're talking about something that every single one of us with an idea has struggled with at some point. I mean, if you've been an innovative person, if you've had an idea of what to do with something innovative to create, you've most likely struggled with this before, right? And it's that issue of how do you actually go from having an idea to having a working product. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. The title of today's session is From Idea to MVP, Building Your First AI Product. And to walk us through this, we have an incredible guest joining us today. Please help me welcome Mr. Pascal Oseaga. He's a software engineer with over 80 years of experience building enterprise software across some of the most demanding industries out there. That's banking, fintech, healthcare, government, and even big tech. Pascal brings a wealth of real world engineering experience, and today he is going to show us exactly how to turn an AI idea into a real working MVP. Mr. Pascal, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Sister Afuni, my friend.
Yes, you are. Thank you. So today we're very excited to just dive. But before we get to the main session, could you just tell us a bit about your journey and what got you into building enterprise software?
Okay, thank you very much. As you already said, my name is Pascal Oseaga. Uh, I've been into tech for a very long time, it's, over past 8 years now. And then I got into tech, just surprisingly, I wasn't even thinking about it. Although I've been in the engineering field for a long time before then I happened to take up a course on software engineering at the University of Pennsylvania. And then from there, I graduated and then moved to networking engineering. And then I just had my cybersecurity certification. That's about a few days ago. I kind of like combine all those knowledge, and I'm really excited to be here and to share knowledge. I've worked with a couple of industries, and I run my own business too a little bit, just like that. So I understand what engineering is all about because I was actually doing it with the engineering background.
Well, that's amazing. First of all, I would like to say a big congratulations on your certification in cybersecurity. That's really impressive and it just adds to your already impressive resume. So I'll hand over to you now, Pascal. So just take us through from idea to MVP. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, welcome everyone. I really do appreciate you for being here. Just going to be sharing knowledge with you based on my industry experience. And, you know, my instructor then will say if we have to pop up the internet box, it's so confusing because there's a lot in there, you know. Because of that, we have to break down the internet into different components. So that's the reason you have this on your screen right here. See, from idea to MVP. That's what we do. uh, security in focus. You should build with security in focus. If you're building AI products or whatever generic field you are in, you should deal with security in focus, because that's one of the mistakes I made earlier in my own career. I later build a product and no one will use it like that. So I wouldn't know that they've gone behind to run the security check on my product. And then they'll just kind of give a negative comment about it, and the product just fizzle out. So I have to do a research on it. And one day my social just come and say, hey, you know what? You have to build with security in focus. This is not usually taught in school. So you learn this in the industry. Like they ask you in school, you are just taught, the basic fundamental principles. Of course, AI has been around for a very, just that it was not pushed to the public, just the way it's being pushed right now. And now everybody is using AI to develop product. But one thing you need to know is if you're before you even talk of using AI to build a product, you have to make a decision. We know that tech is easy, that's what we say, but you realize that when you get in, you're kind of like stuck and you don't know what to do, right? And then, but if you have a little bit knowledge in technical, if you have a little bit technical know-how, then you are able to navigate your way. If you, for example, like the first one, we said abstraction. Like when I was starting, you know, it's very, very confusing. So the concept of abstraction came into existence, which means you have a lot of ideas. You want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do different kinds of things. You don't know even know how to start from anywhere. That's where abstraction comes in. It simply means that you're going to have to pick every shape and, you know, like you blank it out. You blank it's highly complex details behind a single interface or a simple interface. You understand? It's very complex, but you have to modularize it and make it a little bit simpler for you to understand. So that's where abstraction comes in. Then if we're looking at okay, yeah, abstraction, you're looking at abstraction, modularity, you have control flow, which is highly complex details behind a simple interface, and it helps to focus on a single task. You don't have to boss around. There are many tools out there. You want to learn this, you want to learn it. I mean, they're bombarding us with several tools. Tools come and go. I mean, like tomorrow you could be hearing about other tools right now that you need to learn. Of course, you need to learn those tools, but the ones you've learned, have you been able to use them? It's good to learn new tools, but you have to introduce the concept. You have to understand what concept is all about. Programming is about concept. Anybody can become a programmer. If you can become a programmer, if you don't understand what concept is all about, your concept just tells you how things are being done in this industry, in this field. Programming is programming. Programming language. We have different programming languages out there that you can pick up on. But right now, if you focusing on AI, then definitely you are going to have to consider using learning how to use Python. I mean, a little bit of Python knowledge, which is good in using AI to deliver a product. That is a very good language right now, and it's popular in the market. And then we're talking about modularity. Modularity is splitting a big program into smaller independent parts, functions, data classes for each development and fixing. You see, modularity is very, very important when you're building a product. How do you want your how do you want your product to be effective if your product is not accessible? Your product might not be accessible if it does not have modularity compliance. If it's not modularity compliance, it might not be accessible. Why? Because it's going to be a giant project, a giant stuff, and you didn't know how to break it into pieces to be able to put all of the pieces. Last night, I was discussing with some of my friends, and then we're talking about AI, the different kind of AI that we're just having a discussion on, and then we realize that which is there are two models of AI, which is agentic AI and the open AI that is right there. Now, to just go into something and then you don't know how to go about it. You need a little bit technical knowledge to really use those AI to make your product, a good product for users to be able to use. You have an idea, that's fantastic. What's the first thing you do? You have to write it down. The idea. What are you trying to accomplish? What's your vision? How do you want people to access your product? You want to access it through the cloud or through from on-premise? For example, you can run some AI on your normal local infrastructure and it's accessible everywhere around the world. And then for that to happen, is it to incorporate those AI into your application, And again, AI also does not run vulnerability scanning on your products. That's something you need to do yourself. Something which means you're going to have a little bit technical knowledge on how to secure your application. AI does not really help you to secure it, but you need to put those into consideration. AI does not really help you to secure your application. You had want to implement the security features, every security features on your product, because confidentiality is very, very important in products. You need to have a good product that has that people can really rely on. A product people can rely on, not a product you any issue. If you have any issues with those products, no, you know, you need to have products that can really, really work. With this confidentiality is very, very important to be able to have so that people can have confidence in your product and what you're trying to solve, the problem you're trying to solve in the society. You need to understand what problem people are facing. What do you really think you want to do in the industry? It's a thing of a choice that you have to, you know, you have to decide, you have to make up your mind what you want to do with your product. I have a product right now that I've already, I just put the front end in the cloud, and then the database runs locally. But if I want to turn it on, if I want anyone to access the product, I have to go to my own server, local server, and put it on. Now, if you have a product that you've developed with AI, how do you manage the product? You're going to have the administration of your product. This is why we talk about security. How are you going to manage the security of the product? Your own admin, you being an admin of your product because you don't want anybody to use the product, which you're going to restrict people how to use your product. And then if we look at the data flow, we're looking at if we look at the data flow, which is it is in the order in which a computer runs instructions. That's data flow. It's the order in which a instruction. When you have your AI product out there, it simply means that you are instructing the computer to allow some certain actions to be performed on your own product. That's included in your own idea, where your product is giving an instruction to users what they are able to do and what they cannot do. That's where the administration itself administration comes in, where you manage. For example, we are on LinkedIn or we are on, if you are on Facebook or that, you have your admin page. That's where you manage how people interact with your services or with your page or whoever you want. You can remove anybody you want to remove, and you can add anybody you want to add. So the bottom line, all of this stuff, do really need to have a little bit of technical knowledge to, to be able to excel, because you want to build a product that users want to be able to use, and you want to build a product that is allowed in the society, because if your product fails in the society, the government can it's still, there are a lot of stuff in there, you know, that may not be able to be discussed outside. You understand? So even if you have, even if you have some, even if you have some complex issues, you're able to resolve it. Another people is not having, not learning in isolation. Don't design product in isolation. Even as big as all these companies are, you see them hiring people to help them out. They themselves are experts. They have a lot of experts. Why do they still need experts? Why do they still need more people, more software engineers, more product managers, more, technical? Why do they need all those stuff, people? So you need you don't need to work in isolation. You don't need to, you know design your products in isolation. Your products, if you have any idea, I tell people you cannot work in isolation. You need a lot of people to come together, get the best hands that can help you, that all you all can become partners and work with those products. Because what I've seen over the years, people have been, I mean, it happens to me also. Why I'll design a product, I'll just be right there doing things on my own, not able to reach out to people. But the day I start to reach out to people, to my friends, to colleagues, things became very, very easier for me, because things you don't know, they're able to put you through. There are some things you know that they also might not know. So do not learn in isolation and do not build your product in isolation. You can't do it all. Think about it. It requires networking. That same software you're using, it requires networking. It requires the software engineer. Then it requires the security aspect of it. These are three big, components that you cannot ignore. You cannot ignore these three structures: the networking, the software, and the security of your product. So you must not neglect that. These are things you must not neglect. You need to understand how data flow. How does data really work? You know, when I was coming up, I didn't really know how to make data flow in in uh, in an application. I'll just design an application, use some kind of data structure that's available for me. I run some algorithms, and those stuff, they just work on my local machine. But if it's deployed on the cloud, I find out that it's not working. Like maybe there are too many traffic, a little bit, just a little traffic. You see that your server is running up and it's going down. So data structure, understand how data structure works. It simply means that if you are designing for a large number of users, maybe you're targeting about maybe 100,000 users of your product. You need to understand the type of data structure that should work. At least your product should be interactive, right? Like you're not just trying to design a static nobody is able to use it except for just informational purposes only, where you are just deploying the front end. But if you also interact with the back end with your server, then you need to understand what data structure is all about, how to structure your data to ensure you're able to meet up with your audience or your users so that you don't make them fail. You know, when it comes to the business side of it, it's something if for example, if you design a product. Currently, my product, I currently have about 100 action, and we start just kick off. So I have to tell everybody to wait a little bit. Let me do the security. Let me run security vulnerabilities on my product first. I have to certify myself. Then I have to get a certified copy from the government also before that product starts running. Because if it gets into the market, or users start using it and there's a complaint when it comes to the security of the product, or maybe it's not reliable, it's not maintainable, if something happens, I'm not able to debug any stuff, that becomes a big problem. It means the product is going to go out of the market very soon. You understand? So you have to ensure your data flow. You look at the structure of your data. How many users are you looking at? I'm going to use Facebook as an example. When Facebook started, it wasn't like this. It was just few people, using it. Of course, sometimes I don't know if They have to improve on their data structures. And today they have one of the biggest data centers in the whole world. So you have to start from very little. You design a component, you because these are two different things. We have software engineers and then we have software developers. Software engineers are somehow different from software developers. Software developers just write code, designing, they design from idea, which means if you have an idea, you get a software engineer that will help you to do design. They do the design and they give it to the developer. The developer, what the developer does is just to write the code based on the instruction that is in the design. So these are two different things that would even while in school, I never knew that software engineering is a little bit different from software from application developers. Until I was asked that question, then I answered the question of being, differently, which was not supposed to be so. So the interviewer had to let me know, hey, okay, but I started talking as though I am just a developer. You see? So in the job interview, I apply as a software engineer. As a software engineer, so if you go to their website, you'll see they have different types of engineering, software engineer. You see software engineer one, you see software engineer two. So I applied for the software engineer two. Then during my interview after the coding assessment, they asked me about because I did code the assessment, so I thought I'm a developer, and I started answering questions based on development. And then they told me, no, you apply for software engineer, so which means you have to put on computational thinking. You have to start thinking like an engineer, how to structure data, how to make data flow, you know, all of these components. It doesn't matter whether you're just developing AI, you're just starting. It doesn't matter. What matters is you must have technical knowledge before you can really excel. You just want to do AI. Of course, AI is good. Everyone want to do AI. I do AI too. My first project on AI was Face API that I use, which is to I have to use that API to scan face, which means if you put on your phone, that Face API, what it does is that if you just put on your phone and just you open your phone, it will scan your face immediately. That was in 2001, the first time I used that Face API. You can do research on it. That's an AI, you know. But remember, if I do not have technical knowledge on how to, structure the data, how to make it pour, how to make it interact, how to ensure that it's able to work with the browser, because that was a browser, I have to use the normal Chrome browser to, put out the video. If I don't know how to do that, how would I be able to even answer? Because that was also in my resume when I submitted my resume to AWS then. That was also in my resume because, in fact, that was one of the reasons they contacted me for that interview. When I put in, I know how to users to stop hackers from stealing data on the website. That was exactly statement I used that made the ATS, which is automated system, to pick up my resume because it meets the requirements who they are looking for. That's why I like AI because it gives you an edge. But AI alone does not just give you an edge. In fact, what gives you more an edge more is when you know the technical. If something breaks in your code, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to fix your code? Because if you can't fix it, your users are going to be disappointed. And once they're disappointed, they're going to report you. You're going to go through legal battles. Of course, maybe in Africa, maybe people don't sue, but any little thing in US, you're going to have to meet in court. You know, that's just how it was. You're going to have to meet in court, resolve those issues, and then the government can You don't want anything to happen to your product. So you must put in a cap, a defensive mechanism to be able to protect your AI. Your idea is good, and if you're just starting, your idea is good. If you've been there before, if you've been in the industry and you have not been excelling, that's because you are not putting pieces together. All the components, all the modules you are learning, the ability to how do you make agentic AI, generative AI, to work with open AI? Because in real world scenario, they all work together. They all work together. But if you pick a module and you're good at that module, not you trying to learn every module that comes out, just know the concept. As I've said earlier, just know the concept. And one of the reasons work with concepts is I don't know, they're going to be processing data. It's one of the basic things that they do. They're going to be processing data. And the data is either going to be coming from another application or from a database somewhere, and I have to process that data on my own application, right? Users, or I'm using it to serve users. So if you understand the concept, how it works, the syntax will be easier for you to understand. You just look at the declaration. It's an automation. It's a programming language interpreter. It's not really a programming. It's just a scripting language. That helps to interpret programming language. So you want to automate some certain task. You then say, okay, I've been down on this level when it comes to the data flow, or I have some certain task that you like perform within 4 to 5 hours. Then, if you know how to do batch scripting, it helps you to save almost 4 hours. It saves more of your time because you're not repeating. These are tasks that should be repeated, but because you've been able to automate it with a script.
Yes, Pascal, we can hear you. And go on. Thank you.
Okay, okay. You know, eh, so you're able to reduce some of the amount of time you are spending on a single product. If you think about it, if you deploy an AI to the cloud and there is a bug, because AI is not going to help you to solve a bug, you have to debug it yourself. In fact, this question came up last week because I was on Google Show. I was on Google with some of their advisors and some of their AI engineers. And somebody asked a question, and that question was, can I use AI to scan for vulnerability on my application? The answer was completely no, because that's not the job of AI. You know why? Because the job of AI is completely different. The job is for a deterministic, problem, solutions. Vulnerability is not a deterministic solution. It's not something you can determine where the attack is going to come from. So if you have an AI in the cloud, it's one of the reasons you have this what we now call hybrid. Hybrid simply you're going to have to you just put the front end in the cloud and the back end has to run locally. Why? Because in certain countries, in the United States, if you cannot put both back end. I did that in 2022. I put both back end and front end in the cloud. And when something happens, of course, they have their log, they see, but it means that my application, my server is susceptible to an attack from the cloud because the cloud is for everybody. Everybody is right there in the cloud. The bad guys are there, the good guys are there. So you have to understand the meaning of hybrid. Simply means separating the server, the backend, your storage from the cloud and your front end. has to stay local. I mean, your front end has to stay in the cloud while your back end stay local. So how will you manage that if you don't have technical knowledge? You have to have technical knowledge. You might not. That's why I say you can't. You don't develop in isolation. There's AI Foundry that's currently going on, and there are a lot of people registering right there. So that class is where you meet your fellow engineers. You meet engineers. You meet uh, developers, right? So you communicate. You communicate. Lack of communication in engineering is very, very bad when it comes to software engineering or network engineering or cybersecurity. Lack of communication is very, very bad. You have to learn how to communicate, how to, reach out to people. You know, I'm a very private person, but this job made me a little bit exposed because when I was stuck, I realized that I have to, because I don't want to, I don't just want to fizzle out the way some of other people just get off the hook. They are not able to continue because it can be very, very challenging if you don't know what to do. If you don't know what to do, it's very, very challenging because you cannot really solve the problem because you don't know how to solve the problem. These things are designed. The system is completely designed to work in a certain way. There are rules. You must follow those rules. If you don't follow those rules, you're going to break stuff. When I tell a lot of people, if you are a developer or an engineer, okay, let me correct something that I said there. A software engineer can design and develop, which is different from a developer. And just so people understand that a software engineer can do both design and development, while a developer just write the code based on instructions from given to him by the engineer based on the architecture. Now, back to what I was saying. If you're designing a product and you are not able to communicate with your fellow engineers, you are not able to have people that will guide you. This is why yesterday while we were talking, I was talking with someone, and people don't spend money to learn. That's why I'm happy for the AI Qubators program that is going on. A lot of people don't like to spend money to learn. Just the way we spend money to learn. People don't spend money. If you truly want to learn, I guarantee you will need to spend money because you can't learn just pieces of stuff because most people don't teach. Like what I'm saying here, I'm just giving a kind of overview in general terms. But when it comes to learning, you have to learn, you have to have a roadmap, a structure from point A to point B to point C to point A to point D, E. And then how do you connect all of those components together? Because those modules, those items, they don't work in isolation. They work in uniform. They work in sync. They don't work in isolation. They work uniformly together. How do you develop an application from, how do you use let me use a Node.js. How do you develop a Node.js application? And then you use JavaScript on the front end part. Okay? And then you build it in, use Docker to build the application, and then you deploy it to Git, and then you pull it from Git, and then deploy it to Kubernetes. How do you do that? If you learn, let's say for example, you just learn Kubernetes, or you just learn Docker, or you just learn programming language like JavaScript and Node.js. How do you do all of this stuff together? It means you have to learn the programming language, then you have to learn how to use Docker to build Docker images, then you have to learn how to use Git, which is continuous integration and continuous delivery, which is CI/CD, learn how to deploy it in the gates, and then you have to learn how to pull it, fork it from the gate back, and you know rebuild it and send it to Kubernetes because you want different because Kubernetes gives you like a bunch of clusters now. So how do you put all of these pieces to work? One of the things I say you cannot design or develop in isolation is this. In your team, you might have back-end engineers. You're going to have front-end engineers, and then you're going to have some engineers that have knowledge of DevOps. You see, DevOps. This helps you to, you don't need to know all of these tools. If you can just master one, if you want to master programming language like JavaScript or Java or Python, put in your time. You have to put in your time to manage, to be able to manage, so that because you want to be successful. You don't just want to write a program and you don't even know what you're doing. You want to be successful. You want to be successful in programs. You want to be successful when it comes to data structure. If you are asked a question, it doesn't really make sense. If you want to really be successful in software engineering, as far the industry is concerned right now, everybody's pushing AI. I like AI, I love AI, but you need technical knowledge to be able to push your products for usability, readability, maintainability. There's no shortcut to it. And if you're learning just the way I do, if you're learning, make sure you put out time to learn. I know if you're in Africa, if you're in Nigeria, as I am now there's a lot of disadvantages. There might be no electricity. And then the network, for example, I wanted to use the router. I easily use the router now. The router has no network. I have to switch to phone network. I can imagine if the phone network also is gone, maybe we'll not be having this stuff now. And so, of course, I know there are a lot of negative factors that could impact people from Africa, like Nigeria, in other countries. But there is this program going on right now, Qubators AI Foundry, is an opportunity for every aspiring engineers. That program because it's consistent. I can see the program arrangement. You know, I usually tell people you need to brute force your knowledge to be able to, when it comes to engineering, you have to brute force your knowledge, and your knowledge is key. Is key, because we are talking on a very simple term, basic, you know, when it comes to AI. And then I believe that you're going to move from where you are right now. And if you take that knowledge and you start to put all the pieces you've already learned and put them together, I believe you'll be able to know more. But understand the concept of programming first. AI is just a piece of software. First of all, know that. I know that. The first time I started with AI, that was hard. I thought it's just a piece of software that's interacting with central database because those databases are already built. That's why you see each country they are kind of putting some restrictions, because it's a public database actually, right? So everybody is pulling from it. Private sectors are pulling from it. Government are pulling from the same public database, and they are modifying it in their own environment. Think about it. If the companies build the AI, if they don't have the technical knowledge, how would they build the AI that you're using? So I want us to start taking competition. You know, uh, if that be okay because of I don't want to take much time. I have to do. I have to do a quick just overview of what engineering is all about, what software is all about, what AI is all about, and then how to put all of these ideas together to work. For it to work for you, you have to put all the ideas together. You have to put all the tools. You have to work everything together. So if there's any question, if anyone wants to ask a question, I'll be happy to answer it.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Thank you so much. Yes, you can hear you, Mr. Pascal. That was a really insightful session. So while you were taking us through this session, I saw some comments coming in, so I'll just read them out now, and then you can go into the comment section. So from wherever you're connecting to us right now, if you're on LinkedIn or if you're watching on the website, I just want to let you know that the question and answer session is currently on. So if you have any questions, came in was somebody said, if AI should not carry out security checks, how then do I do that if I'm not too tech savvy?
Okay, that's why we have security professionals. You know, there are certified security professionals. If you watch every company, if you go to their website, you see they always have security department. They're not talking about people that carries talking about security. When they say security, they're talking about cyber security, which means you have to engage. Because among your team, if you're because since you're not developing an isolation, among your team, you could just have someone who has, who knows how to secure the product for you. You understand? So don't design in isolation so that you can have multiple knowledge, experience put together and have your stuff.
Okay, I think your answer really just takes us back to something that you mentioned earlier, which is not to design in isolation. Always
Yes.
work with a team. It's important that you learn to outsource certain skills. So don't just think, oh, AI shouldn't do security checks. I don't know what to do. Find somebody who is already a professional, experienced in this field, and engage them. Thank you so much. So the second question came in from Harry, and Harry said, Sir, can you provide a standard software engineering structure or setup when building an AI product? For example, should I start from the UI or from the
Please,
admin
please
dashboard?
you were frozen a little bit. Can you repeat the
Okay,
question?
okay, sure, no problem. Structure or a step by step for when building an AI product. For example, should I start from the UI or from the admin dashboard?
It's a
Can you
very
hear me?
funny question. Okay, now, if you want to build, it depends on the level you are at. It depends. Are you just coming into tech or you've been in tech? So these things matter. If you're just coming into tech, I would ask that you start from the basics, understanding how program works. You see, if you do that, it may just take you 3 weeks. I mean, if you brute force it, it might just take you 3 weeks. You already have a concept of how this program works. Then you're able to make a decision for yourself. Okay, I want to go. Should I do backend? You need to understand what backend does, which is servers. You need to understand the rules that server plays. You need to understand the rules that front end does. You understand? So if you know this in different, if you know, you'll be able to, okay, which one do I think I'll be good at? Because whichever one you are truly into, if you're good at it, I guarantee you, you will really go far. If you're
Thank
good
you
at
so
what
much.
you do, yes, whichever one you want to take.
Answered Harry's question. So you know where to start from if you're a beginner. And I just want to remind you, like Pascal said earlier, and thank you so much for continuing to mention it, was the Qubators AI Foundry cohort 2. So the registrations are still open. So if you'd like to actually learn all these things that he has mentioned and more from more professionals, then do not forget to get registered and sign up for the Cubators AI Foundry cohort. So, Pascal, thank you so much for this. We don't have any more time really now to take any more questions, but if you do still have questions, please still leave them in the comments and then we'll get them answered and we'll find a way to get back to you. And don't forget to also sign up for the Incubators Network where you can be a part of everything that we're doing, you get firsthand knowledge on these things that are being shared. So thank you so much, Pascal, for this. It was really such a valuable session. And I know that a lot of people are walking away with clarity on exactly how to move from idea to execution. So before we close, I would just like to ask you, is there any final word of advice you have for someone connected today that might be thinking about, that might have learned from today's knowledge sharing session?
For me?
Yes, please.
Okay. For me, if I want to, I would say if you're just starting, if you're just starting, now you have the AI funding going on, and maybe you don't even know how to start. I think that should be the first step. That should be the first step. If you don't even know how to start, that should be the first step. You go there, you meet a lot of people, meet engineers, you meet newcomers, so you're able to interact, you're able to talk. I think it boosts you because it's very, very confusing if you are alone. That's why I keep saying that. It happened to me. Most of engineers, it happened to them, and they've learned from their mistakes. If you can learn early, not to make those mistakes that I made, that would be good for you, right?
Thank you so much. One last question, because it just came in now, and I think it's a question that we can quickly answer. So somebody asked, is AI a threat to software engineering or to tech jobs in general?
No. Okay. The AI itself is a software. Who designed the AI?
The software engineer.
So
that's perfect.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Who designed the AI? The AI is not a spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who designed the AI? They are software engineers. So you understand what I'm saying? So it's not a. We've discussed it in different forums. Even last night, we still talked about it. They just need you to have to be able, because AI is an agent. It helps you to complete tasks very quickly.
Yes.
For example, if I'm stuck now, I'm in the house alone right now. If I still get stuck, I just open my app and type. Oh, okay, I'm gonna see. It just gives you the idea because I have the knowledge. I'm able to quickly. Okay. This is where the issue is coming from. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
before I could be there 4 hours, 3 days. Now, the owners of your job or your employer is not happy because he's paying more money. The more hours you spend, the more money he pays. He doesn't want to pay that.
Yeah. So by software engineering. So AI itself is a software. It's just an assistant. It's just a tool. It does not then replace the profession. It doesn't then replace the job. So thank you so much, Pascal. Thank you once again. I personally truly appreciate you for taking out time to share with us today. And to everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed the session, don't forget to drop a comment, share this with someone you know who needs to hear about it, and don't forget to follow at the Qubators Network so you do not miss out on our next knowledge sharing session. That is it for today. We have come to the end of today's KSS. See you at the next one, and bye-bye.
Somewhere right now, a Christian tech expert or creator is writing code or creating something that will change a life. A designer is building something the world hasn't seen. And across nations, a new generation of kingdom innovators is rising. Qubators is a global community of Christian builders, developers, designers, and creators, united by one mission, using technology to advance the kingdom. It's not just a network, it's a complete ecosystem, built to help you learn, connect, build, grow, and earn, all in one place. Through the AI Foundry and our knowledge sharing sessions, Qubators gives you practical hands-on training. Whether you're just starting out or sharpening skills you've used for years. Connect with builders and innovators across nations and industries. Trade ideas, find collaborators, build relationships that outlast any single project. Through build-a-thons and innovation challenges, ideas stop staying ideas. Teams ship real solutions to real problems. On the clock, under pressure, together. Q Mentorship pairs you with experienced builders who've walked the path before, guiding your career, your business, and your impact. And through Q-Link, opportunity finds you. Freelance work, partnerships, and jobs, all within a community built on trust. Through our campus and church ambassadors, Qubators is reaching further, raising new innovators in cities and campuses around the world. And once a year, then it all comes together at the conferences held in various nations. Qubators Lagos Conference, Qubators London Conference, and many more. If you build with code, with design, with ideas, there's a place for you here. This is your community. This is your opportunity. This is your network.
Join the Qubators network now and take your place in shaping the future through tech.